What these animals were doing was not normal. That much was clear to everybody on the excursion. Incidentally, a vet was also among them, and he was the only one who seemed to realize what was really going on. He was terrified, but he knew he needed to get everyone to safety immediately. It was way too dangerous to stay here. He told everybody, "This isn't good. We should run." But nobody seemed to care. He realized that their lives might well be in his hands. "Everybody, do you hear me? I'm serious. We need to get out of here right now." Mark tried again, but nobody moved. A few of the others just looked in his direction for a second, but they immediately turned back to the sheep, amazed by the weird phenomenon that was occurring right in front of them. They weren't listening to him. Mark looked at the sheep again, thinking that maybe he had gotten it wrong, but there was no doubt about it. They were very restless and walking in circles. He'd never seen this kind of behavior before, but he had heard and read about it enough to be able to recognize it. He was 100% sure of what was happening here, and it was bad news. Mark was at his wit's end, thinking of a way to make everyone around him understand that they were truly in danger. He finally just grabbed the guy who happened to be standing next to him by the shoulders and explained what was going to happen if they did not leave right now. "I'm not kidding. Trust me. We have to leave." "But what about the rest of the trip? We still have to hike up the mountain," the guy replied. Mark groaned, realizing that this was going to be more difficult than he had hoped. "What don't you understand about what I just said? If you stay here, you risk your life. Forget about the hike." This warning finally seemed to work. Some others heard what he had told the man, and he finally had their attention. Mark breathed a sigh of relief as he realized that they were all listening to him now. He jumped up on a big rock and he yelled, "Please, listen up!" Everyone finally stopped talking, and the group gathered around him, waiting for him to continue. "Good, finally. As I've been trying to tell you, this right here," he said, pointing to the sheep that were walking in a circle on the field, "is a big problem." He went on to repeat the same explanation he had given to that man a minute ago, and the others gasped as they heard what he told them. They were starting to panic. Absolute chaos broke out, and they all started speaking at once, obviously getting very worried. "Please, stay calm. We have to leave right now, but panicking will only make things worse. Stay calm and follow me. I promise I will bring you to safety," Mark continued, losing his patience and eager to get out of there as soon as possible. He jumped off the rock and started walking back in the direction of where they just came from, hurrying as he noticed that the sheep were only becoming more and more restless. However, his speech wasn't working as well as he had hoped. Most of the group followed him, but not everyone seemed to be convinced. A few in the group stayed behind, rolling their eyes at the dramatic situation. "Aren't you coming with us?" somebody asked them, but they just shook their heads. "Nah, I'm not buying it. It can't be that dangerous. They are just sheep. Besides, I paid for this excursion and I'm going to finish it. I'm hiking up that mountain with or without the rest of you." Someone else chimed in. "Yeah, tell them. I'm joining you up there. I've heard the view from the top is truly amazing. I don't want to miss that." Mark sighed and told them, "Do what you want. You're free to go, obviously. I'm not forcing any of you to follow me. I just told you what I know. You're risking your life by going up that mountain right now." "Oh, and why is that? Because of some sheep walking in circles? Sure. You believe what you want and run, but I'm not giving up." Mark wished them luck and continued walking, not even caring about whether anyone was going to follow him or not. He only wanted one thing now, and that was to get himself to safety. After a few minutes, he noticed that the largest part of the group had still decided to follow him. A woman approached him and said, "Sir, thank you for helping us. We never would have left if it wasn't for you. But what will happen to them?" She pointed to the mountain, obviously referring to the ones who decided to finish the hike. "I have no idea, but I wouldn't want to be in their position when it happens. They might never make it home safely. It's a huge risk they are taking." The woman nodded, and they continued the walk in silence. Some were whispering to each other, wondering whether Mark was really telling them the truth and curious to see what was going to happen next. As they walked, Mark pointed to the sky and asked, "Do you hear this?" The forest was filled with loud calls from the various animals that lived here, showing that they were agitated or distressed. "They all feel it coming," Mark explained. He was confident that he had made the right decision, and he felt sorry for those who had gone up the mountain despite his warnings. Suddenly, he felt something wet on his face. As he looked up to the sky, he realized that it had started to rain. "Well, that is just great," he whispered to himself. If they wanted to get out of this forest in time, they had to hurry. Their chances at success were only becoming slimmer now. The rain intensified, dropping from the sky with a fury that seemed almost vengeful. Each droplet reduced visibility and turned the path into a muddy maze. The once stable ground beneath their feet was now slippery and treacherous. Every step had to be calculated, the risk of slipping all too real. Mark squinted, trying to discern the path ahead. The rain smeared everything, turning the world into a blurry landscape. But his years of experience guiding through this terrain gave him an edge. He carefully pointed out the safer areas to tread and called out any hidden obstacles. The group relied on his expertise now more than ever. The downpour made it hard to hear one another, so the group began to hold hands, forming a human chain. It wasn't just for physical support, but emotional as well. Every grip, every squeeze was a silent assurance. We're in this together. Their unity was the anchor they desperately needed amidst the storm. As they moved, Mark recounted tales of his past expeditions, the peculiarities of the landscape, and the many times the weather played tricks on him. His voice, steady and calming, offered a distraction from the rain's relentless pattering. With each story, he subtly taught lessons on how to navigate this challenging terrain, preparing them for what lay ahead. Just when the weight of the situation seemed unbearable, a soft glow permeated the dark clouds. A slender ray of sunlight broke through, casting a muted golden hue onto the wet foliage. The group paused, faces turned upward, soaking in the brief moment of warmth. The storm wasn't over, but this fleeting respite rekindled hope. The path grew more rugged, filled with moss-covered rocks. One member, Clara, lost her footing on a particularly slimy stone. She tumbled, letting out a sharp cry as pain shot through her ankle. The group rushed to her side, concern evident on their rain-drenched faces. Two of the group members, Tara and Leo, quickly assessed Clara's situation. They had some basic medical knowledge and knew they had to immobilize the injury. Using a sturdy branch and their belts, they fashioned a makeshift splint. The group's determination and unity were evident as everyone offered whatever resources they had to ensure Clara's comfort. Mark knelt beside Clara, guilt weighing on him. He always prided himself on ensuring the safety of his group. Now he felt the full weight of his role. Looking into Clara's eyes, he whispered words of comfort. She nodded, trusting him despite the pain. Mark realized that leading wasn't just about knowing the path, but about being there for those who faltered. With Clara's limited mobility, continuing without a proper break was out of the question. The group huddled, discussing their options. Given the unpredictable weather and Clara's injury, the consensus was clear. They needed shelter. They decided to find a safe spot to camp for the night, away from the elements and potential hazards. As they continued their cautious trek, Mark's memory jogged. He recalled an old cabin he had come across during one of his solo expeditions. It wasn't luxurious, but it would provide the refuge they needed. With renewed vigor, he shared the news, offering a glimmer of hope. The cabin was their next destination, and everyone felt a surge of optimism. The sound of raindrops on leaves slowly gave way to the distant echo of a wooden structure. The cabin was near. Pushing open the creaky door, the group was greeted by the welcoming embrace of the cabin's interior. The wooden structure had stood the test of time, offering sanctuary from the storm outside. Its familiar scent of old wood and a slight hint of moss filled their nostrils. Here, they felt a temporary reprieve from nature's wrath. Within minutes, a crackling fire was brought to life in the hearth. The warmth radiated, drawing everyone closer. Wet clothes were hung nearby, their dampness gradually yielding to the fire's heat. The orange glow cast dancing shadows on the walls, and the atmosphere became one of relief and camaraderie. In one of the cabin's shadowy corners, Mark stumbled upon an old radio. Covered in layers of dust, its knobs and dials spoke of a time long gone. Intrigued, he fiddled with it, trying to determine if it still had any life left. After a few moments, a low, static buzz filled the room. The group watched in anticipation as Mark adjusted the dials, searching for a clear signal. Suddenly, amidst the fuzz, a voice emerged. The radio was alive, broadcasting messages from an unknown station. The voice from the radio brought news from various regions, mentioning peculiar animal behaviors and other unsettling occurrences. No specific reason was provided, but the emphasis was on being cautious and alert. The group exchanged worried glances, sensing that their journey might be more perilous than they initially believed. As the broadcast continued, it became evident that the group wasn't alone in facing these mysterious challenges. While it didn't confirm Mark's deepest concerns, the news was alarming enough. The reality of a shared threat brought them closer, forging a bond even stronger than before. Mark's instincts and experience were invaluable. The group, previously skeptical of some of his precautions, now rallied behind him, trusting his judgment implicitly. They recognized that his insights might be the key to navigating the unfolding mystery and ensuring their safety. As the rain continued its rhythmic assault on the cabin's roof, Mark spread out a map on a wooden table. Using a lantern for illumination, he began to outline potential routes, highlighting areas of concern. The group huddled around, contributing their thoughts and insights. Amid the strategizing, a concern was voiced by Tara. What about the others at the mountain base and in the nearby town? Shouldn't they be warned? The room grew quiet, the weight of responsibility palpable. It was clear that their journey wasn't just about personal survival, but potentially about the well-being of many others. Mark recognized the gravity of the situation. He proposed a daring plan: to split the group. One team would head to the mountain base to warn those camped there, while the other would make its way to the town. It was a risky move, but with the stakes this high, it was a gamble they had to take. The night deepened as the two teams prepared. Tomorrow's dawn would see them embark on separate paths, united by a shared mission. The route towards the town was shrouded in darkness, the forest thick and seemingly alive with secrets. With every step, rustling leaves and distant noises reminded them of the many hidden dangers. The world around them felt vast and unknown, making their mission feel even more urgent. Emerging from the forest's edge, the first signs of civilization greeted them. Local townsfolk went about their evening routines, blissfully ignorant of the approaching peril. Their laughter and conversations contrasted with the urgency in Mark's team's hearts. Gathering the townspeople at the community hall, Mark played the radio broadcast. Each word resonated in the silence, the once unperturbed crowd now uneasy. Mark emphasized the need for preparedness, sharing their experiences and urging them to recognize the looming danger. While some skepticism remained, the town's leaders acknowledged the gravity of the situation. Plans for evacuation and safeguarding resources were discussed. Families began packing essentials, preparing to leave at a moment's notice, while others began securing their homes. Back in the forest, the other half of Mark's group set forth to save those still on the mountain. Time was of the essence, and with every step, they hoped to find and guide them to safety before it was too late. Venturing higher, they stumbled upon a group of hikers they'd met earlier, those who had scoffed at Mark's warnings. Now, their faces were painted with anxiety, their brashness replaced with dread. Facing Mark's group, the hikers swallowed their pride. "We should have listened," one muttered, gratitude evident in his tone. "Can you help us?" another pleaded. The recognition of their errors made them yearn for the guidance and experience Mark's group offered. With renewed determination, Mark's team led the way, using the knowledge they'd gained to safely navigate the treacherous paths. The bond between the two groups strengthened, united in purpose and a shared goal of safety. Just as dawn broke, a tremor rattled the earth. Trees swayed and birds took panicked flight. It was a clear reminder that the threat was real and imminent. The groups picked up their pace, racing against the unpredictable force of nature. Upon reaching the town, Mark immediately coordinated with the leaders, sharing insights and strategies. The combined efforts of Mark's wisdom and the town's resources fortified their defences, ensuring that when the true challenge came, they would stand together, resilient and united. The town buzzed with activity, everyone playing their part as they braced themselves for what was to come. With the urgency of the situation sinking in, the once skeptical town quickly jumped into action. Families gathered essential supplies, neighbours assisted each other, and the streets buzzed with a coordinated effort. The shadow of doubt that once loomed over Mark's words had now disappeared. Inside the town's council room, Mark sat down with local authorities. Their discussions focused on observations of animals acting bizarrely. The radio had hinted at it, and Mark had witnessed some of it. Connecting the dots was crucial for planning their next move. A spirit of unity engulfed the town. Vehicles were loaded, with priority given to the elderly and children. Makeshift camps were being set up at safer zones, and people extended helping hands, ensuring everyone was accounted for. With reports of some still stranded on the mountain, Mark and a team of volunteers embarked on another risky mission. Their resolve was unbreakable as they ventured back into the dark wilderness, hoping to bring everyone to safety. The town's atmosphere became thick with anxiety. The once sporadic tremors now seemed more frequent and intense, each one lasting longer than the last, every vibration sending waves of unease among the townspeople. As if nature itself was sounding an alarm, the sky became filled with flocks of birds, their erratic flight patterns painting a tapestry of urgency. The townspeople, already on edge, took it as another ominous sign. The forests that once echoed with chirping and rustling now resonated with distressed animal cries. The symphony of the wilderness was in turmoil, sending chills down the spines of those who listened. The cloak of night brought additional challenges. Mark's group, with torches in hand, lit the path for the others. Each flame became a beacon of hope, cutting through the overwhelming darkness. The group that had once dismissed Mark's warnings was now visibly shaken. Their bravado had faded, replaced with fear and uncertainty. They clung to Mark and his team, desperate for guidance and reassurance. Suddenly, a tremor, stronger than any before, shook the very foundation of the town and mountain. Buildings swayed, trees toppled, and panic ensued. It was clear now. The earth was revealing its raw power, underscoring the urgent need for everyone's escape. As the tremor subsided, the realization dawned on everyone. Their battle wasn't just against time, but against the unstoppable force of nature itself. The earth roared in defiance. Powerful jolts transformed the serene landscape into a maelstrom of chaos. Trees danced violently as if possessed, and the once firm ground beneath their feet felt like a ship tossed at sea. Panic was in the air, but also determination, as Mark's group clung desperately to any semblance of stability. In moments of adversity, true character shines through. With every jolt and sway, members of the group reached out, pulling each other from the brink, sharing words of encouragement. Their collective will became an unbreakable chain, ensuring that not a single soul was left isolated in the quake's fury. Silence took over when the shaking stopped. The world seemed to hold its breath. Eyes darted around, taking stock of the injured and assessing the damages. Buildings lay in ruin, trees blocked paths, but the human spirit remained undeterred, already focusing on recovery. From the midst of despair, heroes were born. Mark's group, having already faced so much, found renewed energy. They sought out other stranded souls, offering guidance, sharing supplies, and becoming a beacon of hope amidst the devastation. From a distance, amidst the enveloping darkness, a glimmer caught their eye. The faint lights of the town shimmered like a lighthouse guiding ships through a stormy night. For Mark's group, it was a symbol of safety, warmth, and community awaiting their return. Their return to town was met with a mix of relief, joy, and heartfelt gratitude. Families reunited, friends embraced, and even strangers shed tears of gratitude. Mark and his team were hailed as heroes, not just for their guidance, but for their unwavering spirit. The sun dawned on a town in ruin, but filled with determination. From every corner, people emerged, lending hands to clear debris, provide medical aid, and rebuild. The aftermath of the quake saw the town's spirit shine brighter than ever, highlighting the resilience of the community. Night fell, and around a roaring communal fire, survivors came together. Their silhouettes danced against the flames as stories of hope, bravery, and resilience echoed into the night. Each tale was a testament to the indomitable human spirit that thrived even in the face of nature's fury. Sitting a little away from the crowd, Mark stared into the fire. The events of the day played in his mind, reinforcing his respect for nature's might. More than that, he pondered the bonds formed, the friendships forged, and the unity displayed amidst adversity. As dawn broke on a new day, the tale reached its conclusion. A community stronger than before, with stories to tell and lessons learned. The most significant being, heed nature's warnings and cherish the bonds of community. For in unity, humanity finds its greatest strength against even the mightiest of adversaries.